NDTV's Srinivasan Jain is in that troubled area. He joins us now. Srinivasan, we know and we've seen some of your reports from there. So it looks like that people still feeling very, very unsafe in Muzaffarnagar.
Absolutely, Sunetra. We've just come back from the remote rural interiors, a pocket of 6 to 7 villages which has seen the worst violence from yesterday. And in fact, some of the villages that we visited, and we'll show you those pictures, the flames are still smoldering as of even now, just a few hours ago when we visited, indicating how recent the violence is and what an appalling commentary it is on the claims made by the Samajwadi Party government, the state government, that they've attempted to control the violence. Yes, it is true that there are teams of police who've been conducting raids in these villages right from the morning, from about 5 a.m. They say they've been conducting raids, but those that we met have told us that it's too little too late. Most of the violence that began yesterday at about 10:30 in the morning carried on right through the day, and that's why we've seen a gradual uptick of the death toll figures, because as the police and administration reach these villages, they're finding more bodies, and that's why the death toll is rising. Now, what we're going to show you is the new dimension to all of this, the new dimension to the crisis, which is that most of these villages that have been attacked are about 2 hours from here and largely in a Jat belt, where the Jats dominate, the Muslims are in a minority, and so the Muslims were attacked in a fairly systematic manner, and apart from the deaths, they've been driven out of their village, turned virtually into refugees. So our first report is from the village of Loi, which has become a sort of an informal refugee settlement, where Muslims from all these villages have gathered, and where they still say they feel an acute sense of insecurity. We are in Loi village, which is about an hour and a half outside Muzaffarnagar town, and these are all people who've come in hundreds, perhaps even thousands, from a number of nearby villages where the maximum amount of violence has taken place. These villages are largely Jat dominated. The Muslims are in a minority, which is why the violence was acute yesterday. And they've come to villages like these, which are Muslim dominated, because they feel safer here. But even now, as you can see, the atmosphere is extremely charged and emotional. It's just a matter of 24 hours, so the memories are fresh. Some of the stories they've told us of violence is heart-rending. They claim that no one came to protect them. They claim the majority community of the village repeatedly asked them to flee or said they'll protect them, but in turn turned attackers as they came back from the Jat Mahapanchayat on Saturday. And this is the great risk that we've been talking about since yesterday, that while the cities might be relatively calm, Muzaffarnagar is calm but tense. It's the villages, the rural hinterland, where the greatest fears and risks lie. How will the administration which evacuated and brought them here ensure their protection? And how will it ensure that they'll be able to return to their villages and homes and live together with their neighbors? अच्छा, कितने लोग हैं यहाँ पे अभी?
2000 लोग के करीब है जी। हाँ, प्रधान ने उजड़वाए। जो प्रधान चाहता तो हम नहीं रहते। प्रधान ने उजड़वाए।
क्या बताइए, कैसे हो गया? क्या
ऐसा हो गया, पुलिस नहीं आने दी बिल्कुल भी गांव में। 3 दिन लोग बाहर देखते रहे, छतों पे चढ़ रहे, मकान जला दिए गए
और बच्चों में आग लगा दी, जिंदों में 2 गम में गोली मारी। अच्छा, आंसू को कत्ल कर दिया, काट दिया। इस्लाम को मारा।
इस्लाम आपके भाई हैं?
हाँ।
भूखे पिसाए किसी तनाई में हम रात 12 बजे यहाँ लोई में बड़े जंगलों में गिरते पड़ते बचते करते।
मेरा भाई का गंडास लड़ा है, छोटे भाई का। हमारे घरों को जला दिए। हमारे
कितने बजे हमला हुआ?
हमला हमारे पास लिया 10 साढ़े 10 बजे, 10 और 11 के बीच में।
और इस हादसे से पहले माहौल ठीक था? कभी नहीं हुआ था?
कभी नहीं हुआ इससे पहले।
कभी नहीं?
इससे पहले कभी नहीं हुआ।
शांति होती थी?
हाँ, शांति होती थी।
There are trucks arriving with people almost every hour. These are the latest batch of those who have fled from a village called Kheda Mastan, not far from here. As you can see, they've literally put their belongings on their heads and they've come to the village of Loi. This is all that's left of the homes in Phugana village, completely burnt to the ground. A violence which is so recent that you can still see the flames burning even now. And this is after repeated claims by the administration that they're going to provide security even to far-flung villages which have a Muslim minority pockets, with a majority of the village being Jat. But clearly, the destruction and the fact that the smoke is still rising and suggesting how recent it is seriously undermines those claims by the police and the security forces that they're able to provide protection. This house completely gutted. just like so many other houses in the Muslim enclave, the Muslim part of Phugana, all those who live here have now fled to villages which have become virtual informal refugee camps. These are Muslim-dominated villages they've shifted to, where they say they feel safer than being here. But of course, serious questions remain as to how violence could have been allowed to continue as recently as perhaps even this morning, and how will those who are responsible for this be punished? And finally, the most difficult question of all, how will those who actually lived here be able to come back and live in peace once again with their neighbors? In Phugana village, with camera person Xavier and Neha Masi, Srinivasan Jain for NDTV.
So Srinivasan, just picking up from that point you raised in that report, does the administration look like it has things under control now, or is it still very uncertain?
Well, it's quite shocking, Sunetra, because we visited the Phugana Police Thana, which is meant to be in charge of all those villages from where we just reported, and we met the SHO. He said, don't ask me any questions, I've only been here for 20 minutes because the previous SHO has been transferred. Clearly, there's still a huge amount of confusion, a huge amount of inability by the police and all the security forces to try and ensure that these villages are protected. The fact is that in many cases, people on their own have got up, picked their belongings and moved into these other Muslim majority villages. In some cases, they're being evacuated. But I think that there's a feeling that they've not been tough enough. They're not arrested the main people behind these attacks. And I think that the administration does still have a lot to answer for.